So our topic for today is actually growing stuff inside your house. Because I live in far northern Washington state, it gets pretty cold in the winter. Definitely cold enough to not be gardening outside. And our growing season is super short. I like to keep a stash of food and supplies on hand for emergencies. And as I was thinking about that and trying to be more self-reliant in general, I thought, well, gosh, I have this whole growing season that is impossible to grow anything outside. No, I really eat a lot of salad. And I really wish I could grow salads in the house. So last year I started to try to do some microgreens in the house. The thing that I found that is the limiting factor for growing food, plants, or even good house plants inside in the winter is in the north we also have shorter days, so our light is limited. It should be fine for growing things, I just can't get enough light to keep the plants from stretching, to keep the nodes from being too far apart. And so I was trying to figure out a way that I could, without growing a full-on greenhouse, how I could grow things inside that I could eat through the winter. And so yes, I did spend some money, but it's nothing like the money that I would have spent on a full-on greenhouse that was heated. I purchased a hydroponics system. It's called Gardyn, and I am, at this point, not sponsored by them at all. I'm just trying them out and seeing what happens. And I've ordered it. It came in. I'm very excited to open it up, and I'm going to share that experience with you. We're unboxing the Gardyn system today. So this is the large box that the system came in. And there's another smaller box. I think these are the lighting tubes. I'm not quite sure what kind of grow lights are exactly with the system. But let's open her up. So there was a little guide in this top section. Oh, there it is. I put it back in there. So there's a user manual. The hydroponics part is something new to me though, so that's going to come in handy. Then there's some, I believe this will be fertilizer that we'll be using in this system, which, because it's hydroponics, the water will be cycling through the system, and it will need to have nutrition for the plants kind of going through that water system. So I believe that what this is going to look like is a tank at the bottom with a pump that pumps the water and nutrients to the top. So this little box actually contains what they call pods. They're basically a pre-planted rock wool in a little cylinder type container. These, they're all planted and everything. We're just going to pop this cardboard piece out and then put it in the system. But there's those little pods. This bag turned out to have small parts in it. The caps, which when you're not using a particular location on the system, you cap it so that the water doesn't come pouring out. And then this is, I'm not sure what the little pot is for, but it also had a small screwdriver, the teaspoon measure for the fertilizer, and some other parts and pieces that I'm not quite sure where they go yet, but we'll find out. I'm going to unpack it, but as you can see, there are small pipes, small flexible pipes. There are the little spaces where the pods fit into. Well, this is kind of interesting. I was just looking at the instructions briefly, and I realized that there was a way to hook your phone to this system so that it would tell you when bad things were happening, which is hugely helpful for people who are not home all the time, me being one of those. But look, it's actually got cameras to show you what the plants are looking like from a distance. That's kind of cool. Okay, so apparently the columns, there are 3 columns, they come in 2 pieces and you need to put them together. That's step 1. So you fit them together. Oops. They're trying to come apart on me. You fit them together with the arrows together. The cord is, the irrigation pipe is inside, if you can see that. You put them together like this with the arrows together, and then you twist them to lock them together. So there's 1 full column. Might be a little bit tricky at some points to get the pipes to be far enough together to get them together. There we go. I just pulled on the pipe on the other end. Shouldn't be too much of a problem later. I am something of an irrigation person, so I'm not afraid about that. Put them together, and then, oh, they're already twisted and locked, but put them together, then twist and they'll lock together. So let's see about step 2. Oh yeah, so apparently we need to pull the irrigation tubes out of both ends to make them straight. So we're going to do that. Oh, they only are on one end, I guess. And we kind of already did that, so yay us! Woohoo! We did that part already. Now we're going to put the board that holds those pipes onto the base. And it looks like we have a notch on the back, a bit large notch on the back of the base. This is the tank, the reservoir tank. So this is going to be the back corner. I'm actually really pleased with the look. The base actually has a nice wood top. It reminds me something of this cabinet back here, this IKEA cabinet with the white and the light wood. I kind of like it. Oh, those handy little handles we looked at a minute ago, they actually lock the top. This is the front with the electric wires. And then these handy little, we dropped this piece into the tank, and then we lock it with these little locking handles. Handy. That's a little piece of foam that's stuck down in to a small hole, and then we're gonna lower the water pump down into the tank. That's kind of handy. One thing that is cool is I've worked with pond pumps and irrigation and things like that, is that this is very straightforward kind of assembly. Doesn't take any knowledge of what's going on in order to do it, which is cool. So now we're going to unpack the lights. I'm excited to see what they actually are. There's multiple kinds of artificial lighting that you can use for growing plants. Some of them have different wavelengths, and so they encourage different kinds of growth within the plant. So fruiting, flowering versus growing vegetative growth. So it'll be interesting to see what the spectrum is on these lights and what kind of lighting they are. There's LEDs, the LEDs are really cool, and I have a couple of other LED lights for plants inside the house because they're cool. And usually in the olden days, back when I started doing greenhouse work, all of the major types of lights were very heat producing. And so that was another challenge with trying to keep temperatures regulated, was all this heat coming off of the lights. So it'll be nice to see what kind of lights we've got. At the time that I'm filming this system, just the basic system, didn't include a monthly subscription or extra anything at just as the basic unit was about $800. So it is not an inexpensive piece of equipment, but if I can avoid going to the grocery store in February and grow my own salad vegetables during the winter, I'm okay with that. One of the features that I liked about this system was that it was vertical, and so it takes up hardly any space on the floor. And so finding floor space for a large unit that was horizontal was going to be a challenge. But the fact that this is primarily vertical, and it literally takes up maybe 2.5 feet by 18 inches on the ground, that was a big selling point. And vertical growing, even in the garden, vertical growing is awesome because you can take a tiny space of land and grow a lot of plant in a very small space. So we're gonna try now to hook up the electric and get these lights working. Electricity is not my favorite thing. Irrigation, great. Electricity, slightly more challenging. I can do it, but it will take a little bit longer. Oh, they're LEDs. They are LEDs, okay. And they do have cameras. So one is on the left side, one is on the right side. They've handily labeled everything. Running into the packing tape issue, but it hasn't been an issue till now, so happy days for that. That could be an interesting challenge. So they actually give a little QR code for learning how to connect this. I think this part is going to be awkward enough, and I don't want to risk damaging the lights, so I am actually going to stop and watch the video. So here's the location I'm going to put this. There's quite a bit of light in through the windows here, but there's also this area where I've got a wall that I can kind of prop this up against. As you can see, I already have quite a lot of plant stuff going on in this corner and fertilizer and orchids and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I think this spot is actually going to be quite handy, easy to get to. The light isn't going to bother me because this is my office, so I'm not going to be sleeping in this room. I think it's going to work neatly. Here is the hookups for the lights. You can see there's a couple of electrical cords there. This is actually a piece that slides up and protects the bottom of the light, probably from water splashing or something. There's not going to be a lot of water splashing with this system, but then on the left side as well. Then as we put these lights on, we're going to hook these together with the hooks on the lights, the connectors on the lights, and then slide this down over the top. And I am a little bit concerned because this is going to go up from here like this. They're quite tall, so I'm going to have to turn this around and prop it up against the wall until we get some braces put on the top. So we'll just go for it and see what we can do. One super nice thing is that everything is clearly labeled with which side it goes on, which is super handy and helpful. This is going to have to tip back. You can't really see what's going on, but that's okay. I'm just pushing these connectors together in the way that seems to fit. Come on, baby. Okay, noticed one more thing. So they have you hook up the irrigation. You'll have to kind of dig in here and find the connection piece there. And it's just a pressure fitting, so you're just going to take the hose from the grow tube, the end of the other plastic hose, and slide it over this until it's pretty tight down on there. It doesn't seem like it's a super tight connection, but it's probably not got enough pressure behind it to be a problem. What I did find was on the tube itself, when you go to slide it in, you're supposed to slide it in and then turn it again to lock it. And they have the one arrow, but there is no corresponding arrow on this. So I'm assuming that we want these grow pods to be facing the light. So I would put this that way so that these grow pods are growing, are pointed towards the light. Okay, so you're supposed to put this bar in, and it just kind of gently sets into these places. So that one goes like that. There's a little loop in the top here. I couldn't film it and have 4 pieces in my hands at the same time, and then another piece that just sets in here. This was a bit tricky. So if you have someone to help, that would probably be super helpful, because they can kind of support things and hold this in place while you're screwing this down. I was able to do it, but it was a bit awkward. Now we're going to put in these top support blades that go from the light to the grow tube on the right and left sides. That is actually going to be quite tricky, especially since I've got electric wires coming out of the top of this one. So it's going to have to go in exactly where it needs to, and I may actually have to pack these a little bit forward. But anyway, that's going to take some super care, in which time this tube is kind of hanging out here without any visible means of support. But once I get this side in, it should be pretty easy to come back here and then screw in the blade. And I'll show you what it's like when it's done. Okay, so that was actually not as hard as I was thinking it would be. This actually fit down here quite nicely once I was able to figure out where that went in. It was well away from these wires, so we were able to just get that there. Lovely camera. And now we're going to screw this piece onto the back here. That may actually still be fairly tricky, because we got this piece and that piece all trying to go in to the right place at once, but we'll see what we can handle. Not too shabby, not too difficult. It's an interesting design for sure. I'm a design person, so I like things to be clever, but also workable. And this one is, it's a technology, so it's going to have some bits and pieces. Anytime you're working with technology and you're unfamiliar with it, or most everything, actually, I find that's electronic or electric. It's got its own kind of setup and design, and those are not necessarily really obvious, so you do have to kind of think about them first. But here we are, all done. Now we're going to turn this around, and I will be taking all the little stickers and things off, because I'm not someone who enjoys lots of extraneous stuff. It does have a safety strap to screw to the wall. I might have to move my diploma, but it does have a safety strap on the top and the bottom. I will not be able to put one on the bottom because I have my wall heater right there. That should do it. Not too difficult. Fairly easy to set up, especially if you've got some experience with DIY, do-it-yourself, putting things together. Not too bad. Awesome possum. We have the Gardyn hydroponics set. They're calling it the Gardyn system, I think. Hydroponics is not in the name, but that's actually what it is. It's a hydroponic system. So anyway, see you later.